2 of the HFKT Tank Royo final. Now we have flip sides, so we have the NRD Panzer division, ironically now playing Allied in a 76, and we have the Botmobile on the German side in a Tiger. We're currently just in the processes of staging up the match. Currently it looks like the Tiger and the 76 are both going to run up that right hand side of the map. So this will be another very potential fast engagement, as this side of the map does have a lot longer sight lines and does allow for a lot more speed on the Allied side.
Absolutely. I think some of the ranges you can shoot at down this road are in between 500 to 700 meters. So it definitely brings into a proper tank engagement. A lot less of the short range that we just saw in that last match, where it was like 80 to 100 meters, not even that. So
Do you want to move it to a 121
definitely
then?
could. There's a slight S bend in this road
Yeah,
as
that works
well,
for me.
but not a large one. So you all the way from G2 to basically G6 is just a straight shoot, basically, Obi.
Yeah, and the only real foliage around here to hide behind is those bush rows. So it does change the ways you can hide your tank quite a lot. It will be quite interesting. Maybe we'll see the Botmobile crew take to what has been nicknamed Obi's Hill and hold that high ground with a great vantage point. Or will we see them try to push hard and fast up the road? There's a lot of tactics here. Both these teams haven't played on this side of the map with this side, either the German or the Allies. So it's a lot of unknowns for both crews as to what will happen right now.
Absolutely. I've just zoomed in on Obi's Hill at the moment, and we can see the great sight lines it has, especially across the fields towards the north. You've got basically unadulterated sight lines for 300 meters. While that can be a boon, it can also be a bit of a negative, because it's quite easy to spot, especially if you just plonk your tank on top of there and don't recon it first. Obi, I believe your favorite tactic was having your tank at the base of the hill on screen now and then jumping up on that house. Is that correct?
Yes, it was. It gave you quite a good sight line. It meant your driver could go to the spotter position while the commander was on top of the building, and that basically gave you double eyes to scan around and spot tanks. And given how much viewpoints there are from that slight high ground there, it did give you coverage of about 60% of the play area, so it did allow you to look around and be the one to make that first shot quite often. Now it looks like the game has just got underway here. The Botmobile is currently pushing towards what is more centre of the map actually, so they're not pushing up that hard edge. They are going towards the area that has a lot of trees and a lot of cover, so this will be an interesting tactic we haven't seen yet.
It seems we might have a... Oh no, sorry, yeah, no. I thought the Botmobile was already in play zone, but they're currently still sitting back, and they're just, as you said, moving basically straight to the middle, yeah. Originally, I thought they were going down that right road, but maybe it was just a snap decision to, don't risk it.
We have seen some very deadly engagements come off that road, and a lot of close quarters tank play. Potentially they're wanting off this one to do a bit more long range with a bit of engagement and give them the option to peel back if it's not going favourably for them.
Especially with the 2-second reload on the 76, you really want to make sure that the engagement suits you down to a T. You don't want to expose any weaknesses in that.
No, you really don't. You really want to make sure with that Tiger that you are getting the first shot off, so you have that reload evened out by the time it comes back up and not giving the 76 the advantage. Now, whereabouts is that Sherman pushing at the moment?
Well, the 76 is just pushing full gear in G4 down the road. No deviation to turret, no slowing down, just hammering it down that road.
Now that is quite interesting, because that road is so straight, it does allow the tank to perform at top speed for a longer period of time, and it can actually catch you out for how far down that road that tank can move in a given period. I know I was a little bit surprised when I ran to you, Von, how far up the map you'd managed to push in such a short duration, just by smashing it down that road at full speed.
Absolutely. And again, nothing, as you said, there's no need for deviation, there's no walls you can bang into, no log piles. But we actually have the Sherman has now reached that little house in G4, almost just off the road. You see the little house and the trench system.
So right now we can see Mugshot has gotten out of the tank and is standing on a roof trying to get a bit more elevation with a pair of binos, just trying to look around and see what they can see. Just hiding behind basically the elevation of Obi's Hill here. I don't think they've dropped any tank markers yet, so they're unaware of where that Sherman is.
struggling to find the Tiger here. He's well hidden.
Yeah, so they're just in the compound below the building structures of Obi's Hill. Sitting on the lower, tanks should be quite well covered here and give them the opportunity to spot that 76 first, depending on which way of the map it goes.
Oh yeah, I saw it now. Wow, that is really well hidden. You've still got the 76 still in the same position it was before, but Riley is now out of the tank. And just in front of the building. Sorry, he's in the building, peering out the window.
The very stressful part of how they're positioning here is you do have to scan the whole map as they are sitting quite centered, so you can't just focus on one angle in particular. So I can see the tank going from side to side, looking across the whole play area, trying to figure out where that 76 is sitting and grab any glimpse of the tank as it moves up.
Both tank commanders out of the tank, searching for a high point. Definitely in this current patch, despite the fact that it's a 1v1, the current patch with the changes in getting in and out
1 minute
tanks,
till zone shrinks.
you really want to make sure that you're doing forward scouting. Forward scouting to don't put your tank in danger. Get out, have a look around. Doesn't really cost anything if you're smart about it. I just heard the 1 minute play warning until the play zone will then shrink, which could be very interesting considering that Mugshot will either have to go through the fields in front of him or back up and then go laterally. Because
he is currently in an okay position for the first shrink, so they can sit there for another 5 minutes. But it is an interesting position after that 5 minutes for them to get out of. You do have to cover quite a bit of open ground.
And Riley's still out of the tank. Still in that building. Neither is wanting to move. Both of them are in a fairly safe position and are wanting to keep that advantage. Riley is...
Now, forgive me if I'm wrong, but that 76's engine is even completely turned off.
No, the engine is actually still on. Yeah, no, his engine is still on, definitely.
Okay, maybe I have a sound bug for that one, unfortunately. But yeah, definitely, I guess both teams here trying to be very cautious, not wanting it to go to a Game 3 and a final showdown decider.
Definitely, I think Riley would definitely like to just finish this game off. Don't worry about the stressful third game. Whereas Mugshot and Co are obviously wanting to get a nice quick finish here as well, but in their favour.
Absolutely. Very interesting here that if the NRD boys managed to pull this one off, they would have got through every single game completely undefeated in this tournament.
There's definitely a possibility and a bit of a nice little feather in the cap if they can do that. Whereas if Mugshot is able to take this game and force it to a Game 3, it might spread a little bit of doubt. You never know. The psychology, one of the things that people don't realize in this kind of situation is the psychology of it as well. It's not easy on the psyche because it's just you and your tank against an enemy and they're in their tank. And it's just like, are they here? Have I second guessed my strat? Are they on the same side as me, or do I need to do this? There's so many questions. So many questions.
Oh, absolutely. It's basically 15 minutes of hell on your brain trying to double check every decision you make. It's basically only 3 of you talking, trying to figure this out. You've got a massive problem, and all of you probably have the biggest intense game of sweats on during these matches you'll ever feel. As we finally see that 76 in the distance pushing off from its building, slowly creeping up that right-hand side of the map.
If Mugshot is able to move his Tiger forward and use these bushes here as cover with this little lane just in front of him, they will eventually get a side shot if the 76 keeps going across those fields. This is very reminiscent of one of the other games that we watched.
Very much so. So right now they haven't spotted the 76 as it moves from piece of cover to cover. The Tiger, on the other hand, is still quite content to sit here.
He's in a great spot. I think
he is in a great spot, and I think he knows it.
I feel like he could move up a little bit more, even just to the edge of this this wall, this dirt wall in front, where the bushes are, just to give it a little more elevation.
Oh, absolutely, but maybe that's a little bit of fear coming in from these boys. They're one step out almost already are being knocked out of this tournament and having to take second place. So maybe just a little bit of caution, making sure they want to get that victory and take it to game 3 with a chance of winning.
Again, as we just emphasized earlier, the mental game starts to really take its toll the longer the match goes on.
I know you can speak from example from this one, Von, that, you know, every minute that ticks by, it gets worse and worse when you've had no sightings
Yep.
at all and you've got no information. And suddenly, instead of just looking in front of you, now you're going to start looking behind you and checking, are you being flanked? Have you missed an angle? Have they pushed for a piece of high ground that they're going to be able to take advantage of you of? You know, the longer that time ticks on, the worse it gets as you go towards those final 5 minutes.
Absolutely. In a regular tank game, you know, you usually have infantry beside you, or you know kind of what to expect. The enemy going to push into you to take a point or defend, but then you kind of get that itch in the back of your skull, like, oh, I've been sitting here too long, or I need to move, or is that AT? I can feel something. In these games, that's from minute 1. There is no stop to that itch. You get that as soon as you're on that road. You're like, are they going to side shot me if they moved up really quick and they got in the 500 meters away? You know, so the pressure on you just keeps rising and rising as we see the Tiger pushing up
1 minute
towards the
warning
middle of the
to
point.
final zone.
Yeah, so we've got 1 minute left before we shrink to the final 4 grid squares around the AA network. The Tiger is pushing up the road into the town itself. And I can see that the 76 is still sitting far off to the right hand side there. This will make it a very interesting engagement because suddenly both these tanks are pushing across quite level and quite flat open fields with very little disrupting their view. As you can see, both of them pushing towards the hard point at this point.
76 might have a glimpse.
One of them might get off a little spot, but there is quite a bit of foliage
Yeah.
between the two all the way across as they run in parallel.
They're both running parallel on the slight angle, which could lead almost to a V section here. Which being that,
I
that
imagine
hill.
both tanks, that hill on
Yep.
that high ground, just for that exact advantage. I think right now, with the speed it's tracking, the Tiger might reach a more opportunistic position slightly before that 76, but it does look like the Tiger is actually pushing directly into the cap center itself right now. They have stopped just inside the grove of trees, just inside the final play area.
Yep. Whereas, okay, the 76 is actually in the one of the 4 grid squares. So they are ticking, showing AA network is being capped by the American side. So that has alerted the Germans, and now Mugshot is out of the tank, trying to do a little bit of scouting. He's not going to see much from here, though. He's kind of on a little bit of a low ground. He's now checking behind him. You see a bit of the panic setting in.
Yeah, so both these tanks know that they're both in those final sectors as that point is contested and
Yep.
neither is capping. So they can rule out that no one's in the hard point itself, but somewhere within that sector, as I can see markers being dropped, marking out the play zone so that people know exactly how far they need to look between and where possibility that tank is. Now we only have 5 minutes in this sector before live artillery does start getting dropped towards tanks as a direct giveaway in a final showdown, basically giving away all positions and forcing the 2 tanks to engage each other.
I wouldn't be surprised if we see another engagement on this little farm lane to the right of AA network.
Quite possibly. I could imagine one tank trying to sneak up there and come around the side instead of taking that high ground. For the side that the 76 is on, it is a lot of open field for them to try come up that high ground. They do have to cross what I would consider quite a dangerous position if that Tiger was sitting in the right position. Both teams right now just trying to burn some time, obviously. Still very unsure and unwilling to make the first move with so much on the line.
If Mugshot moves his Tiger to that farm lane, it'll actually be a slight reversal of that first match where they'll have a straight shoot down that lane while Riley and Cope will have to push down that S-bend. But it wouldn't surprise me if Riley gets out just to have a look down that laneway before they move up. He's naturally very cautious and just wants to take every precaution that he can to not lose that first shot engagement.
Oh, absolutely. And it could probably show the correct way, or maybe even a bit of karma if unfortunately they don't check that S-bend first as to how they just won in that first game.
Absolutely. See, Tiger really hasn't moved. They're holding their position here. They don't have too much of a sight line.
No, neither does that 76. Both teams just being very, very unwilling to move or show any form of engagements.
Up until now, none of them had any view of it. Have zero frame for reference, apart from the fact that they're both contesting the point. So they know they're now in they're in one of the 4 grid squares. But again, they don't know which one. They might be behind them. They might be to the side. But they're just at the moment they're on the same side as they started out, but just basically just facing each other.
And right now we've got the Tiger pushing out of that grove of trees as it heads towards the cap zone of AA itself. Maybe their impatience finally showing itself just a little bit again. Maybe moving a little bit early. Maybe it'll work out for them. But that 76 still holding hard by that barn building on the outside of the play area.
I think it's likely we're going to... But wouldn't surprise me if we see an engagement on this road. Is looking more and more likely as the Tiger moves up, although they have stopped just on this little bit of a high ground. But they do have a nice little view of the field to the right. Not too much to the left because of the hedges, but the Tiger is moving up now.
Exactly. Now, if they push just a little bit further, what they might not realize is they're going to ever so slightly clip that strong point in the cap zone, which might give it a dead giveaway for the NRD boys of where exactly that Tiger is, as we see Mugshot get out of that Tiger and walk into the strong point itself.
Right.
There's a 1 minute warning.
1 minute, 1 minute warning for artillery.
60 seconds.
Yep, so Mugshot has entered that strong point as the point uncaps from the Allied side, deadly giving away at least half their position that they're somewhere in that cap zone.
The Tiger could move up to this edge of the road and then basically position themselves so that they can have the first shot on the 76 and then back up if they needed to. So far we haven't seen a retreat yet, have we?
No, we haven't, and we see that 76 start to push off from their position, moving towards the cap. Mugshot is still out, as we see, I think they're close to their 1 minute warning being up here, so artillery is going to start landing near the tank. Now, it won't damage the tank itself, but if a tank commander is still outside a tank, then it is extremely dangerous for that tank commander. As we see Mugshot sprint back and get in his Tiger. He might have just glimpsed that 76 at the last second, but I can't be sure. But as you said earlier, we're looking right for a road showdown here. That 76 pushing down that road on the right-hand side of AA network. Just sitting beside the S-bend, slightly hiding their hull with the perfect angle on it to maybe ricochet that first shot.
Well, they're actually, if the Tiger pushes forward, they're going to be blind until they go past this house, which means that the Sherman is going to have an advantage. They're staring down that laneway. I think they've got them pegged.
Yes.
They haven't marked them, but I think they have them pegged.
Yeah, definitely looking favourable for the NRD boys right now, holding that sight line first and not having to come around a corner. This is one of the issues the Botmobile had in the last match, where they had to round a corner first.
Yep.
And then take a shot, which loses you a significant advantage, unfortunately.
What Mugshot needs to do here... Oh no, we have... The 76 is currently retreating. Very interesting.
Do you think they know what's up, or are they trying to reduce their angle? I'm a little
don't
bit
know.
confused of the mood by the NRD boys there.
Yeah, I'm not sure.
They had the perfect position to sit and wait, but I don't think they knew the Tiger was exactly sitting where it was.
I think that... I'm thinking they're getting something a little bit itchy, and they're feeling that the Tiger's going to try and get in from behind.
This is the first game they've had where it's properly run into overtime, so it should be quite interesting right now before live artillery shells and air bombardments start dropping to give away tank positions.
Now, I don't think the Tiger doesn't have any view on the left, so if the 76 does move laterally towards the west side of the map, they're not going to be able to see them.
No, that is a bit of worry where they're sitting right now. They actually have very limited sight lines. Maybe they are waiting at this point for the giveaway of something to show where the other tank position is to move against it. As we see that 76 start creeping up towards that high ground on the edge of the sector, maybe trying to gain a bit of a better vantage point. Or maybe they think the Tiger is up there, as we hear the first artillery guns start firing, giving away tank positions. That shell's going to land in about 20 to 30 seconds, and then it's going to be all games on from there.
I'm very surprised we didn't see an engagement along that little farm road. I was kind of expecting something like the gunfight of the OK Corral, but we've had a little bit of a reprieve from that. First artillery shell
as those first shells start landing, that should have given the NRD boys a very clear objective of where that Tiger is. But I don't know if they saw the whole shell.
I don't even know if Mugshot's Tiger saw it either, because they're behind the house.
Exactly. Both teams might have missed that. The 76 pushing up
Oh,
towards that high ground, probably looking in the completely wrong direction, not that they know it yet, thinking that Tiger is hiding up there somewhere.
Mugshot is now looking down the laneway. It was about 2 minutes too late. If he'd looked up there before, they would have seen them. Although he might get shot.
Yeah, unfortunately.
Mugshot is now.
He's now out of
He's
the
now.
tank looking around.
I think he's seen it. Yep, I think he's seen it.
Yep, the Tiger backing up and traversing the direction of the 76.
The building might be in the way of their first shot.
As the tank mark goes down, pinpoint accurate. The question here is the RT rounds come in. Can the NRD boys turn that tank around fast enough to be able to engage properly? Very interesting direction to push here from the Tiger, trying to shoot across the point. As the NRD boys climb that hill, that big building in the centre of AA network is just covering the tank.
No.
Potentially, if the NRD boys continue pushing on that direction, they might get a lucky rear shot.
shot.
As it is, it goes in and penetrates the tank. You can see the sparks flying off the rear of the 76, but it doesn't look like it's lost its engine, which is a good sign for the NRD boys.
And the second shot hits the hedge. Oh, saved by the hedge.
The NRD boys definitely know what's up here. Now, referencing back to game number 1 of this tournament, the NRD boys...
Ooh,
oh, look at that pop
shot.
through the hedges!
Wow.
The Tiger taking absolute victory on that at the last second.
Unbelievable. He had to be firing blind.
Absolutely. He must have known he was somewhere in that area. Perhaps maybe they thought they got the tracks on that first shot, so the movement was very limited. But what an actual shot from that Tiger.
That was phenomenal. I'm just seeing the view here, and oh my goodness. It's tiny. He did a bit of gardening there. He skimmed the hedges. Gave it a good old little cut.
God, that's probably the longest game we've seen in this tournament so far, which will force us to game number 3 in the final of the HFKT Tank Royale. Both sides once again going back to their preference.